Every year, Jamaica loses a certain number of its highly skilled or skilled laborers to contracts in foreign countries, and we hear about the brain drain that it is causing on the Jamaican society. Is it that Jamaicans are highly skilled migrants that is brain draining Jamaica in order to equip other countries? Or are they simply modern day indentured laborers? Let's jump into it.
Jam Fam family, the Jam Fam family, yeah. Jam Fam, come hang with me.
Hello, Wagwan. Big up yourself, whether you're there yard or you're there abroad. Welcome back to another episode of Life with the Jam Fams. Now, in today's episode, we're going to be looking at this important feature that happens each year in Jamaica, where it's now defined as the brain drain. Now, are Jamaicans highly skilled migrants, or are they just modern day indentured laborers? Now, if you think back, all the way back to the Windrush, now people who have been sold a brilliant idea about how contributions that they could make to countries when they go abroad. There are people leaving from Jamaica every year in pursuit of that dream, and they're going to various countries where they're classified as highly skilled migrants or skilled migrants, and they go there to occupy jobs in those countries as their labor market opens and their shortages of different professions emerges. And at the same time, there are Jamaicans in the diaspora who are repatriating to Jamaica and are also being joined by expatriates who are coming here, and they're coming here for health. They're coming here for a wholesomeness, quality of life, for longevity, and for a life in which they can feel more relaxed and laid back and be able to unwind and enjoy themselves, because they're trying to escape the rat race that exists in the countries that they're coming from. So why then is it that Jamaicans are going there, and in what capacity do they consider that they are going there? Highly skilled migrants are people who are who fit certain shortlist categories. They need to have a certain level of qualification and in certain career fields. So for example, medical fields, education, agricultural fields are considered to be highly skilled migrant. Most of them are required to have a degree, so a bachelor's degree to begin with, in order to be able to take up these occupation in these countries. And they are given work permits to be able to go there and work in countries. Some countries are doing things such as giving permanent residency in an early onset, while other countries are prolonging the process. We just want to have a look at the processes that are happening and considering the similarities with some of the terminologies that we're using. So let's have a look at indentured laborers. Now, indentured laborers came to the Caribbean after we had emancipation, and so this was an influx of people who are coming from the Asian continent, and so we had East and West Asians who were coming into the Caribbean region, Jamaica included, and they were coming here to take on work. Some of them were working on railway station, some were working on plantations, and it was just a myriad of different work that they were coming here to do in order to build out the workforce, because once there was no longer servitude happening, of course those people who had their liberty to go off and work where they want to were investing their time and energy on their own farms rather than putting so much of it in working on these plantations that existed. And so there needed to be a skill balance, and so indentured laborers were brought in. But these people were sold a dream and a vision of how the West is booming and where the future lies within the West. However, they got here, and many of them ended up staying here and never returning to their countries that they were from, because when they came here, they realized that the dream they were sold was actually only just a dream. Now, is that also happening to Jamaicans and others in the Caribbean who are heading off to other countries, who are selling them this amazing dream? What's the dream that they're selling, you might ask? The idea of the fact that they will have enough money to be able to support their lifestyle and be able to afford the things that they want. The fact that they will have this nice picket fence and their 3-bedroom, 2 baths, and their family will have all of these luxurious experiences and many more things that they pad out in that dream and in that vision. The fact is that the Windrush generation were sold a similar dream as well when they were needed to go off to the UK to help to rebuild after the World War. And equally, in the 70s, people were sold the same dream who went off to the US and to Canada to help to build those nations as well. Now, we've seen the scandal recently, well, a couple of years ago, with the Windrush, and it's still progressing with the Windrush generation, and how many of them the UK was deporting back to the Caribbean after they've gone there and worked so resiliently to help to rebuild their nation, and their thank you was a deportation ticket back to countries that they have been so long removed from that they themselves would not even be able to readjust to those environments. So let's have a look at some of the things that people are experiencing when they are migrating to other countries, and whether or not this is actually something that will give them that dream that they're being sold, or just the same repetition of what indentured laborers back in the late 18, early 1900s experienced, and also back in the 60s, the Windrush generation, and in the 70s, the people who went off to America and to Canada also are experiencing. Is it any different now? Now, there's no disputing that for many people who are going off to these countries and buying into the dream, that what they're actually doing is getting an opportunity to help to make a difference in their lives. Yep, that is the case. However, oftentimes, the plan of action to make this a reality isn't really sold to the people in the same way the dream is sold. And so you find that many people go to these countries and they struggle to be able to really realize that dream and that ambition, or even be able to come back to their country at any point when they choose to, and be able to add to the life and develop their own countries in a similar way that they have worked long and hard to develop these other countries. And although this opportunity exists, it is not as far-reaching an opportunity as they try to make it seem. And we're going to look at 5 things that are commonly experienced by people who take on these recruitment programs and go off in search of this wholesome dream that they are being sold. First thing we're going to consider is the wage that they're paid. Now, many people go off and they believe that, of course, the wage that they're going to be getting for the similar job is going to be very different to the wage that they're getting in their country that they're migrating from. So whether they're coming from Jamaica or another Caribbean island. However, the fact is that although the wage is more, the cost of living is also very different. Oftentimes, the places where these jobs are listed are in communities and inner city areas where majority of the professionals in those areas do not want to move to and work. And so the challenges are many. And then the wage that they're getting, although it's higher than what they would earn in their own country, is very low when compared to the grand scheme in the other countries. Many teachers, for example, who leave and go off to, say, the UK, when they get there, they're paid as unqualified teachers. Of course, enough lobbying has been done to change that now. And so now they are paid as qualified teachers, but they are not paid in a similar qualified experience on the pay spine for the years of their experience as they would be if they had started out their teaching profession as British qualified with qualified teacher status in Britain. So therefore, for example, a teacher could have 10 years of experience as a teacher here, where in the UK, the level they would be on the pay spine would be on the upper pay spine. But they would go there and they would now be placed on the main pay spine. So they're still being paid less than what they actually are worth. And that is just the reality. And they now have to work within that confine, and also the new expenses that they have. Rents are very expensive. Food to purchase is expensive, and lots of other things that they will have to afford there is going to be very costly. Many of these people have families in their country that they're leaving from that they also need to send money to. And so before long, you realize that the way in which they're living is no different from they were living here, because the money isn't stretching as much as they would want it to, even though it was portrayed to be so much more. Now, to give some context to that, look at a person who has British qualified teacher status, who then moves to a Middle East country, for example, to work as a teacher. When they're moving there, they're getting pay packages that are equivalent or more than they would have gotten in the UK in terms of just their pay. And that is tax-free wages that they're getting. So if, for instance, they were earning £45,000 in the UK and then paying tax out of that each year, now they've moved to one of these Middle Eastern countries. They might be earning the same 45 to 50,000. They're paying no tax. when they earn. So that's all tax-free money. And then in addition to that, they also get accommodation paid for, they get medical insurance, they get the school fee for 1 or 2 children paid for, they get lots of other things that comes together as an accumulation in their package that they are being given as part of their pay. So when you think about the two comparison, you start to recognize that it is not quite the same. And so the British teachers who are British qualified are moving across to those places to work because they realize that they're getting a way better deal to do that, and therefore it opens up positions in the UK market to then be able to bring other teachers in who they can pay what they want to pay when the two marketplaces are compared. And this happens across the different professions. I just chose to speak about the education industry because I know that more intimately. The second point we're going to look at is poor working conditions. Now, many of the people who are migrating to these countries to work, they are going to work in poor working conditions. And when I say poor working conditions, I mean poor working conditions. The privileges and the advantages that they have in the countries that they're coming from when they were working, they definitely will not be having it in these countries that they're going to. It's long, very long shifts. That they're doing, high intensity demand from their employers, the things that they're expecting. It's an absolute lack many times of any duty of care to them as employees. And it becomes evident on their health, the things that happen to their mental and physical health as a result. Because the things that are demanded, and you either fulfill it as competent people, or you are not competent to fulfill your job and therefore you no longer have it. That is simply how it works. The compassion does not necessarily exist in that way when you are going to these places to do the jobs that you are being marketed to come and do. The third point I want to look at is the lack of employment rights. So many of the people who go off and work in these countries, their contracts are so set up that their employment rights are so minimized. And because they don't know their rights in these countries, it's even more of an opportunity for their rights to be exploited. And what I mean by that, for example, the other day I was having a conversation with somebody who was seeking out information to be able to support somebody else. Now, this is a teacher who left from Jamaica and went to the UK to work in one of those inner city schools that finds it difficult to recruit teachers that are from that country. And so they seek out recruitment from people from other parts of the world. And so the person was put on a probation period of 6 months. And the things that were being demanded of the person are things that should not be demanded of any qualified teacher. And so this person was unaware of the fact that the things that they were being asked to do are not things that they should even be doing. And so you find that what then happens is that, of course, they then decide that they're going to over-observe, put so much stress and pressure on the teacher who's already experiencing high levels of stress and pressure just being a teacher, and all the demands that are on her for her given teacher standards that she needs to meet. And this is now being added on to the point that she was excessively stressed and depressed and seeking help for how she's going to fight this case that she's going through in the school that she's in. And the bottom line of it is they knew that they only needed her for a set tenure, and they put the probation period for that time. They now know that they're coming up to the recruitment period again, and therefore they will have new recruits, and they might just be able to get somebody, a British qualified teacher, to come into the classroom. And so now they're putting unnecessary pressure on her, because eventually when the pressure becomes too much, people will just fold and walk away, because there's no point staying and fighting oftentimes if it means that it's to the end of your health or your career. So these are some of the things, and this is one scenario of many that exist in a range of fields where people are coming into the country and being recruited. And oftentimes people go into these countries and they don't understand how to get into unions and get their representations that way. And even with the unions and representations, the amount of things that the employers do to employees just so that they can get out of them the last ounce of their being, just to do in their workplace, is why many of the people who call those countries their home and train and are qualified there are moving to other places to work, and these job opportunities are being created. So, and I've heard of many stories of people who have had similar experiences in education and in health in the United States. And so if you're some of those people who have gone away to work in these capacities, then do tell us some of your experience in the comments below, so that other people can have an understanding of some of the experiences that you have in the places that you've migrated to and working. I will speak briefly about this other one, which is just the visa refusals and the costs for those, which whenever the visas are refused, their cost. So it's a money-making scheme at the expense of the people who are trying to apply to go for these roles. And you submit it, you don't meet all the criteria, they tell you what the additional criteria are, and then you have to go away and meet it. Or they suggest specific people or agencies that you can work through, which means you're going to now have to pay those people to do the process for you, so that you can get the necessary documentations that you need to travel and the jobs that you need as you're going through the process. For some people, some recruitment processes, you don't have to pay these costs because they are covered in your recruitment package when you're being recruited. But to some countries, people have to pay these costs for themselves, depending on the nature of the visas that they are migrating on. Whether they're applying as a highly skilled migrant independently, or they're doing so with a recruitment agency, or they're choosing other alternatives of visas that are available. So that's another means of just making money off of people who are trying to get onto some of these schemes and programs. And the last point we're going to be looking at is the leave to remain fees and costs, or extension of visas, fees and costs. Now, in places like the UK and the US, they've created new offices and teams of people who are working on ensuring that these highly skilled migrants who've come into the country on different forms of work permits or other means, so the spouse and family members of people who are coming in on work permit will have a way of being able to extend their stay in the country. And this is being done at excessive cost to those people who are going into these countries to fill these shortages, gaps that they have, which should be seen as an addition into the country to help to build the economy and to keep the country from falling or from collapsing, because you don't have teachers, you don't have nurses, you don't have technicians, and all of these things. Then where will the country be going? So really and truly, these are people who actually go to countries and add to the building and sustaining and maintaining of these countries. But at the same time, they are being charged extensive numbers or amounts of fees just in order that they might be able to stay in the country. And laborious processes and steps that are being added in just so that these costs can be justified to people. So in essence, these are opportunities, to wrap up, these are opportunities that are being afforded to people. And in the right hands and with the right plans, these opportunities can indeed cause social mobility and enhance the life expectancy and the outcomes of people and their generations to follow. But it needs to be strategically in the right hands and done with a good plan in order for it to materialize in the way that it should. So have a consideration. Which group do you think you belong to? Are you one of those people who are going there as a highly skilled migrant, or do you indeed think that it's just a modern day form of indentured laborers? Let us know your opinion in the comments down below. Hi, Eliona. How are you doing?
I'm crocheting.
What are you making?
I'm making a bikini bottom.
Can I have a look at it? Okay.
I have to
Is it
make
a full suit?
because someone wants me to have it high waist. Like, what is the purpose of it? So when I'm finished, I'm going to sew. I think it's some kind of like fabric. I forgot what it's called. But
Is it like the lining fabric?
Yes.
What are you going to do with it?
I'm going to sew it inside.
Okay, why is that?
So it's water safe. Because I don't just want, because then when you wet this, when it dries, it's going to shrink. Because it's yarn, it's wool.
Okay.
So if you have the linen in it, it won't really shrink because the linen is sewed to the end, so it can't really.
It will reduce the shrinkage. Okay. Interesting. So how long has it taken you to do all of what you've just shown me?
I wasn't being that consistent.
Okay.
I don't even remember when I started. I think it was the last holiday I had.
But you haven't been doing it
Like
every time,
May,
have
February, I don't know which one. It was one of them.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm sure you've made other bits since then, other pieces.
I made other things. I started a snake. I have no clue when I'm finishing that. I made a bag.
The snake, is that the stuff one? Oh,
I have a shawl, but I need to sew on the button.
on the shawl.
The one I made in England.
Okay.
And
Is that the one with the purple and other things?
it was a shawl. They know why I'm going to wear a shawl in Jamaica, but I'm wearing a shawl anyway. So I just need to put on a button.
Okay. And what was it that you made one for school?
Yeah, that was the bag.
Okay.
Well, technically, I was going to make a different bag, but it was taking too long and I ran out of yarn. So I'm just going to undo it and repurpose it.
Okay. And what's happening with the snake? Why is it you're not working on it anymore?
I have no clue when that's going to finish, and I don't know how much yarn I need.
But you were going quite well with it when you
Yeah,
started.
I just need to continue the tail until it gets to the length I want it to be.
Okay, so you just have a few of these projects and you just work on the ones you want to work on at the time?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for staying with us here again on another episode of Life with the Jam Fams. Bye for now, and we'll see you in the next one.